pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
The clerk call the roll, please.
President Weatherston.
Here.
Trustee McManus.
Here.
Trustee Wishaw.
Here.
Trustee Pierce. Here. Trustee Stone.
Here.
Trustee Martin. Here. And Trustee Lambert.
Here.
I'd like to remind the village board members to use their microphones when they're speaking. Okay, public comment. We'll open the floor at this time to a 2-minute opportunity for citizens to voice their opinions to the village board. I'm sorry, I'll go back. I jumped ahead. Approval of the minutes from January 28th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 28th.
Thank you, Nancy. Have a second, please.
Second.
Holly, okay. Is there any discussion on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public comment, okay, provide 2-minute opportunity for citizens to voice their opinions to the village board. Village board cannot respond as it may conflict with open meeting requirements. If you'd like to address us, approach the microphone, give us your name and address. Good evening. I'm sure you're here for a reason.
Yeah. My name is Rick Barnes. I live at 4515 Matthew Drive. And I have a concern about a stop sign that should be on the corner of 7 Mile and Highway 32. A flashing stop sign is what I'm advocating for. My wife and I were involved in a very serious accident on November 1st.
I'm sorry to hear that.
A lady decided she didn't want to stop. She didn't even attempt to stop. She went through the stop sign, T-boned us, rolled us over, spun us around Friday night about 6:30. Fortunately, we didn't get hit again. We only got hit once. But either a rumble strips or a flashing sign or something, just because she told me, no brake, no skid marks. So I don't know what it would take to do that or who to talk to about that.
So, sign on 7 Mile or 32?
Kind of on 7 Mile.
7 Mile.
But we were going south on 32. She was going east on 7 Mile.
All right.
This is what I, from the
Yeah.
committee of the whole.
Right,
agenda
we
item.
have it on our committee of the whole discussion for
Okay.
tonight too. So thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Are you
sir.
able to stick around
Sure,
for the committee of the whole?
sure.
You can talk again.
Yeah, and we'll
Okay.
have you come back up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Anybody else like to address the board? Okay, 6A, ordinances 2025-05, adopting and amend a multi-jurisdictional comprehensive plan for Racine County 2035 as it pertains to Village of Caledonia under section 13.2.1 of the Village Code of Ordinances, but created by section 13.2.2W, adding to the amendment to the Village Comprehensive Plan, creating and defining new land use category, transitional light industrial. Village of Caledonia is the owner, went through the planning commission on 1/27 at a 5-0 vote. Have a motion, please. Somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-05.
Thank you.
I'll
Mike.
second.
Thank you. Nancy, any discussion on the ordinance?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Pete, there was a couple of questions I had. I see you gave us a document here that explained one of them, which is flex space. Core uses, though, what's the other one? Light production, is that what it sounds like? We're producing lights?
It's light production is into the intensity of the production or manufacturing uses, which are typical defined in the M1 zoning district.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Is that it, Lee?
Tom?
Get Nancy? I mean, Fran, sorry, Fran. Wrong lady.
Oh.
Fran, go ahead.
I'm sure you can tell us. When this was on the committee of the whole, one of the citizens who was talking about it said that she didn't mind the categories so much, but there's no limit on how many of them there is. So it says light traffic for any one thing that's in that category, but there's nothing limiting how many of those things might be. So you might end up with heavy traffic because you have 20 different light uses. And it seems to me that if the intent is that it's a low traffic, there ought to be some limitation on how many of those entities, whatever they are, would be in there. Or how else would we address that?
The conditional use.
Well, question was directed toward me, right, Fran? Or-
Whoever,
Really?
Okay,
Really?
Whoever has the
I don't want to
answer.
buzz in early if anybody wants to chime in. This land use category provides an opportunity in the future when a property owner has this designation on their property to ask for a rezone. And since it's light industrial, we're limiting any type of zoning to the M1 district, which is our most restrictive M1.
right?
And so, and one of the other things in this land use category we're talking about is having large areas of vegetative buffers, woodlands, and other natural features to mitigate the visual impact of these M1 uses. Now, when you say limiting the number, you can never limit the number of particular uses in a land use category or even a zoning district. For example, DeBac, it's how many hundreds of acres, right? And it's all M3. We don't limit the number of M3 uses on that site. What's going to limit it is going to be setbacks, buffers, and into those details at the zoning district level. At the land use category level, it's just talking about light production, talking about data centers was one of the call outs, which is warehousing, which we redefined back in late 2024. So there is no land use category that exists in the comprehensive plan that limits the number of businesses in the commercial land use category. Doesn't limit the number of recreational facilities in a parkland land use category. So this,
Okay, I'm not talking about limiting the kind of, well, I mean, the kind of businesses are limited, but what I am referring to is, I think it says in there somewhere, light traffic. And so my question is, how are you going to assure that you have light traffic if you have a number of low traffic, but a number of low traffic might end up to a high traffic, a single high traffic? That's my question. That if the intent is low traffic, then there ought to be something that categorizes that,
well, anytime
captures
we
it,
have
however you do it.
typically when we have any type of commercial or industrial use that is of any significant size, oftentimes I rely on our engineering department to make a determination of whether a traffic impact analysis is required as a medium or high impact development. And so, but if they're all light uses, you're going to have a cumulative effect of traffic, correct?
Yeah.
But there is no way to identify what the limit is. Eight trips per day for a business? Is that?
Stores or businesses
Well,
per
wait a
month?
minute.
No, I'm not
Pete,
trying to, excuse me.
Hold on a second, Pete. I think what Fran's trying to get to is limiting the number of volume of cars, but
Correct.
but it's part of our conditional use
Or
permit
trucks.
process.
Right, I'm talking
So-
about the traffic.
The
The
traffic-
automobile or truck traffic that would be entering and leaving this category. And what I'm saying is that although we limit the types of businesses in there, if we have a large number of those types of businesses, we might still end up with the equivalent of one M1 because of the accumulative effect of all the traffic. That's what I'm saying, is that it seems to me there ought to be some way of defining how it is that we go about, if the intent is that this is low traffic and it's okay to be next to residential, then it doesn't, if you don't limit the amount of traffic somehow, then you haven't solved that problem. That's my point.
From the way I'm understanding what you're saying is if you speculate the amount of development to come, that more traffic is going to be generated. And I think that is the case no matter if you build a subdivision or a commercial building or a light industrial or a heavy industrial. Anytime you add more development, you're going to add traffic. So
Yes, but
we have that threshold when traffic gets to a point, then there oftentimes has to be modifications made to the roadways to accommodate the continued growth if that's what happens. If you have your one light production facility that's not high traffic, it's not going to trigger anything.
I don't think you're responding really to my issue, because the issue is if this is okay to be adjacent to a residential area because it is low impact, and the reason it's low impact is it has light traffic, this doesn't respond to, I don't see any way to limit the
Todd, did you-
cumulative effect of all the traffic in that.
Todd?
Hey, so, I mean, what we're talking about here is a land use category. And
Right.
so what you're talking about is what would be taken on a case-by-case basis as to what does development incur as far as it comes with traffic. You know, if we were looking at drive-through, what is the trip generation for drive-through? If we're looking at manufacturing or office, what are the actual trip generators for those? But to be able, for a land use category and just one that's going to be used or applied to on a map at some point,
Mhm.
I don't know that we would actually put any level of description as far as what light traffic is. It's when somebody actually comes and applies for the use of that land use category, we would then look at what is the actual trip generation? How many employees do you have? What are future build out of a site, et cetera.
Well, okay, but that's fine for any single business applying, anybody applying to rezone. But it's the cumulative effect that I'm talking about. I don't see a way in what anybody has said here that limits the cumulative effect of a number of small businesses, but packed into this space.
So, excuse me, Fran, are you
Yeah.
assuming that there are multiple tenants on one piece of property?
Yeah, because this allows it.
Our land use category.
This allows it. I mean, the category allows a number of businesses, not a single one. And so it's that number of businesses that I don't see how this is going to be transitional in some circumstances. It might be, because maybe one entity is going to occupy the whole thing with buffers and so on, but maybe it's going to be 40 small entities. And so that doesn't address what happens to the traffic impact when there's 20 small entities or
Right.
40 small entities. So
Holly,
that's my comment. And I guess I've said it enough times. I haven't heard an answer that addresses it, but that's my comment.
Holly, did you have a comment?
Is this kind of like the situation we had out on 7 Mile with, or the one that was going to go in for all those light uses where it was a bunch of doors and they didn't want them coming down that side street, they wanted them using the frontage road? Do you know what I'm? Yes.
Oh.
That kind of situation where you can have a business
Mhm.
that's a big, but it has, 16 different
Yeah.
businesses, 16 different
Yeah,
doors,
yeah,
so then you have
yeah.
people coming.
Yeah.
So are you saying you want to limit within the ordinance the amount of businesses per, we'd have to do a size? Can you do that? Like
Well, that's what I'm
businesses per
asking.
acres?
That's what I'm asking. This seems too general.
Mr. Willis?
Again, I think what's happening is we're confusing land use categories,
Mhm.
which is an application in your comprehensive plan, and zoning. Zoning is how you're going to limit the amount of traffic, the amount of uses beyond what is the scope. Your land use category is a 50,000 foot view. Your zoning is going to be your 10,000 foot view. So your zoning is where you get very specific as far as setbacks, parking required. You can look at traffic and how the road and networks are working and how many employees are going into one area
Yeah.
and the density within that, whether it's residential, commercial, or industrial. So,
But okay,
w-
that's
so-
an answer. That's actually an
Correct.
answer to
So-
what I'm asking.
yes. So right now we're talking about a land use category,
know.
and then what I think road you're traveling down is more of a zoning question.
It may be, but that requires us to do the proper zoning.
But zoning is done on a case by case basis as well.
Well, if someone asks to rezone a large parcel to this category, then are you saying that, I mean, I don't think we can independently require of whatever businesses come in there different standards. I mean, it would have to be the same standard.
If in the viewpoint of the engineering department or they have a feeling that it is going to be a heavy use or heavy burden on the traffic flow, they could certainly probably require them to do a traffic study.
But I'm still stuck there because that might be true for any one business. But I'm talking about the cumulative effect of all of the businesses that would be rezoned to this category.
Correct. And so if
I don't think you can pick
if we
one
look
out.
at let's say we look at Ashley.
At what?
and Ashley Capital,
Yeah.
one we just approved.
Yeah.
Now, no, I don't know if you guys had any conversations before I got here about traffic or what it was gonna do as far as that road network. But there could come a time where, depending on the uses that go in there, based on the zoning, the traffic could be heavy, and there may be a request or a requirement to look at a new development when they come in to go there as to what is the impacts going to be on traffic. I mean, the village can look at that. They can have new applicants or those that are looking for rezones to look at that. I mean, there's multiple reasons you can ask for a traffic study.
Are you saying that if there's a rezoning within this category, that any, let's say 5 different businesses come in there, or 10, are you saying that you can rezone for each one, depending on their traffic?
What I'm saying is, to be able to use this land use category, they would have to apply for that land use category to be applied to the map.
Right?
So we're designating this land use to nowhere on our map. So if somebody wanted to use it, they'd have to apply, which then
Right.
would require them to disclose ultimately what they're looking to do, and how big that development is, and any other types of uses. We would want to know the types of uses that they're using it for, which would also require, more than likely, if you're outside of anything that is already zoned M1, which would allow a data center, they would have to request a rezone. Multiple steps for them to have to go through before before they could just get the land use category.
So you're saying that this will replace that a data center could not come into, if we pass this, then a data center could not come into M1? It could only come into this category?
No, it could come into M1, but we are just coming up with a land use category that would allow for something like that to be applied to our comprehensive plan map. There's 2 separate avenues here.
Yeah. I think-
So this is, as Pete and Todd have indicated, it's a category under your land use
Right.
plan. So the developer or the property owner would have to demonstrate that they would meet this criteria, and then you would have to decide if you want to allow the amendment to the land use plan to this criteria. So they have to come in and demonstrate it. And then the next step, or sometimes it's a step that tags along, is the request to rezone to M1. And what I think I'm hearing from you, Fran, is that you want some sort of a performance standard related to what low traffic means.
Mhm.
And I know staff is looking at performance standards, so I think that this is good feedback, because maybe as a part of those performance standards, there can be some criteria that talks about what high, and we talk in our ordinance, for example, about high
Mhm.
and mid impacts, right? So maybe there's some additional performance standard criteria that could be developed to address the concerns that you have. So I know staff is working on that.
Well, okay, then can we amend this land use category to include that performance standard?
Mm-mm.
Standard would be appropriate in the zoning code, not in
Okay.
the land use category, because
Okay.
it would be something that you would want to be measurable under your zoning code.
Mhm.
And that's where you're going to get more teeth, so to
Nancy?
speak. Yeah,
Okay,
and this is
thank
really
you.
to Elaine, I think, on that thing. So when we're talking about performance standards, from your legal perspective, that is the same as saying we are defining what, in this case, light traffic might mean, that we're defining it somewhere else in the village? I don't know if that's defined anywhere else in the village, and we could certainly look at that, but just some measurable performance standards. Because one of the things that Pete said early on in answering the question was that he's correct that typically from a zoning perspective, you limit, I don't know if limit's the right word, but there are constraints on sites by the setbacks and buffers that are part of your ordinance, and those are in part similar to like performance standard. For example, you have a buffer that you implemented a few years back for commercial that abuts residential to create some space so that we could reduce impacts. So that's a performance standard. So you have in your zoning code certain constraints such as setbacks and buffers
that will constrain how much space on a site can be used, and it's meant to prevent overcrowding. It's meant to make sure that that particular planned uses, for M1, for example, stay M1 and don't leach to have higher impacts that some of those more intensive zoning districts would have. So Pete was correct, I think, when he said those are the primary constraints, but then performance standards will also shape what the light industrial looks like. So I do think that that's something staff is working on and that the board is going to be seeing.
Okay, so that's something that's in the works,
That's my understanding, and Pete's
performance
shaking his
standards,
head,
is
yes.
that correct?
Brad, do you have two microphones or you got Dale's and yours?
It's probably Dale's.
No, it does.
All right, so,
I've been sick, I don't wanna use it.
No, now I'm better.
Seriously, I'm not using it. You were sick last week.
Here.
okay, so, we have a motion to approve with Mike and Nancy seconded.
Here, have this one.
All in favor, say aye.
I know.
Aye.
Opposed?
Take yours over there.
Ordinance is, carries. Resolution 2025-10, authorizing the award of contract for hot mix asphalt paving in the village of Caledonia. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2025-010.
Thank you,
I'll
Howard.
second it.
I have a Dale, a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, resolution that's approved, resolution 2025-011, authorizing the village of Caledonia to enter into an underground distribution agreement with We Energies at Crawford Park. That was interesting reading, by the way, Tony, so can I have a motion on that by this item?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2025-011.
Thank you,
Second.
Mike. Who said that? Nancy? Thank
Listen
you.
to the
Any
table.
discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. I'm going to make an appointment of Ian Dart to the Park and Rec Committee. Can I have a second on that, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ian, are you here? Oh, he's not, is he?
I told him it wasn't required.
All right, well, congratulations anyways, if you're not here. Mr. Washel, would you do
Pass it on.
AP checks, please?
Certainly. Mr. President, I move to approve AP checks totaling to $744,166.41.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, at this time, there's no continuing business. At this time, we'll go into a closed session. The village board will take up a motion to go into close pursuant to 19.851E Wisconsin statutes, deliberating and negotiating on purchase of public properties or investing in public funds or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining resources are required for closed session, specifically to discuss the sale of old Fire Station 12. I have a motion.
Make a motion to go into close.
I'll second it.
Would you, clerk, call the roll, please?
President Weatherston.
Yeah.
Trustee Lambert.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee McManus.
Yes.
Trustee Wishow.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Stillman.
Yes.
All right, we will be back in open session in a few minutes, so just
Hang out there.
hang out in the hall. Oh, they stayed. That's amazing. Yeah, they did. Holly, you have the floor.
Make a motion to proceed that the administrator can make the decisions as discussed in closed session. I wrote it down and then it didn't sound right. when I
Thanks.
started
You gotta
saying
get
it.
better shorthand.
I know.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we will adjourn the village board meeting and move on immediately to the committee of the whole.